Hello, everybody. Welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And like usual, I wanted to start off the streams by saying thank you to everybody that's showed up here during the pre-show and all my patrons as well. There will be a new change coming, hopefully the end of this month. If not the end of this month, next month. I'm going to push heavily for it to be this month over on Patreon. Or Patreon, I should say, sorry. And the reason for that is, for those of you that don't know what Patreon is you can basically go there, support any artist you like with, money. You can just rain cash on them, as little or as much as you want. And usually you get some like insider baseball or some cool stuff. And I've just been looking over other patrons' Patreon sites and seeing what they're doing and seeing what I can add to mine. Mine is still in like the original stage that it was launched, and there's a lot of I'm not sure, just post stuff and things like that. It's very disorganized. What I'm going to be doing, and that was also, I should say, while I was doing client work and things were a little tied up. What I do plan on doing now is I will be moving it over to being a lot more what's the right word for it? I guess independently production style stuff. So if you guys, I'll show you later. I'm not going to get into it. We're going to start drawing and stuff. But there'll be a lot of Castle Dracula production work, PDFs, high resolution images you guys can download before anybody else gets to see it, that sort of stuff. And also commissions and stuff. So we'll put all that on there. You guys can check that out if you're interested. And if you are a patron, thank you so much. If you're not, thanks for sharing, spreading the word, even sharing this stream right here. And anybody on YouTube that's watching, thank you guys so much. So what are we doing today? So we got this lady on here. I think some of you guys thought it was a guy during the pre-show. That's cool. So don't get angry at me, guys. Don't get the flame swords out. We're still doing Castle Dracula. If you guys would follow me on Facebook or Twitter, I posted a couple production environment sketches, I suppose. And this is more of like how I feel, and at times at work, my day job, doing concept art and stuff, this is sort of where I would like to get the studio to go. Right now, I'm the only concept artist there, so it's not quite here. But if you look at like any, we'll say like the major AAA sort of studios, they surround themselves with concept art for a project. And what that does is it lets you get, in the mood, get in the vibe, get in the world of it. And I came across a wonderful DVD, and I recommend you guys all buy it. It's Craig. What is his name? Ian something. I don't know if I have it here. I don't have it with me. Ian McCaig, I want to say his name is. I always butcher it. He's a fantastic concept artist. Most people might know him from Star Wars. He designed, or one of the lead designers anyway, for like Darth Maul, which is a very memorable design. What he did is he sparked this interest, or this way of getting out of a roadblock for me. And this whole DVD, it's the first series on Gnomon. Go to the Gnomon Workshop, GNOMON Workshop. And it's something like the art of story. And essentially what he does, and if you guys have been doing your own works, maybe you guys are getting stuck at this stage too, which is the getting started stage. Besides sitting down, that's fine. You can get a sketchbook, that's cool. But for me, I like to work with note cards when I'm doing scripting. But the problem is I want to draw. I don't want to always just do scripts, even though it will eventually come, right? So you end up in this like catch-22 where you need to write, but you want to draw. So what this DVD did was it was very interesting. What it was you just grab paper. Imagine this. You just grab paper and you draw what you would write down in those plots. And these are things that can get thrown away or whatever. So I'm sitting here looking at this, and I will be putting this on Patreon. And again, check on Facebook. I did make a couple snapshots of this, of just surrounding myself with Castle Dracula, the production work. And what's happening is it's moving the story, asking myself questions, and things that I would normally do at the scripting level. And it's a fantastic way to work because it actually builds your story as you draw, and it just grows that way. And I find this, for myself anyway, from an art standpoint, is a very easy way to bridge into, okay, well now we can start worrying about the script, because these are sort of your beats, your plots that you're kind of working. Now, what we're working on today, it's Castle Dracula, but it's not the Castle Dracula that I'm working on. Now, let me just explain what that means, okay? So, anybody that lives around me, I'm not too sure if there's anybody. I believe there's one person that comes in from time to time. In Windsor, Ontario, Canada, I'm going to 2 local comic book shows. two comic book conventions, and I was just, thinking, what the hell can I have for people to be interested in? Obviously, there's prints. We're going to be doing sketches and stuff, but August is the first one. And I want to have a comic book of something. And I know Castle Dracula is it's not going to be remotely close to being done by then. So I'm thinking of mini comics. Yeah, we've always talked about it. So I was going through my folders of projects that I've started and never finished. And I'm looking at them, and there's some Jessup King stuff I could do, and some this and that. And it just got to the point where I'm like, no, I want to build up Castle Dracula into something that might have a little bit more room to breathe, something cool. I don't know, something just to maybe get you guys and other people interested in like the lore. Like, ooh, there's a little trinket of like stuff in there that might actually be cool. Like I'm a fan that likes to role playing games or any kind of video game. Or this is the kind of like nerdy geeky stuff I get into. You guys might be like this. Well, let's pick Star Wars. Maybe you like Han Solo. Right? And then what you can do is you maybe one day, I don't know, you go onto Wikipedia or you watch a video on YouTube and they start telling you a little bit about Han Solo's background. And it's that kind of stuff that I like. I really like having that option. And it's there for people that want it. So this is going to be a mini comic here. The character in this is actually, and I don't know if any of you guys are going to remember this at all, but let me just zoom out here. This was like an original concept sketch that I made for her, and it's very quick. There's nothing drastic or dramatic really about this. Her name's Bria, and actually, you guys let me know. Is Bria, is that somebody from Game of Thrones? There's someone with a B, and I'll change the name if it is. I just all of a sudden realized that might have been, she's like the big blonde-haired girl. I don't know what her name is. I don't want to get the names, anywhere like that. So what this is I want to have a, what's it called? The lore extension of this. So what this will do, this sort of takes place just before, or a little bit before, where Castle Dracula is going to start. This book here, this mini comic anyway, is going to be called Brienne. Okay, so it's different. Great, thanks. So this one's called Black Tower, and this character Bria has her own purpose in that story, and it's very simple, but the general idea, and I'll share this with you guys too, is the Butcher King. If you guys remember him, we designed him a while ago. Go back, you can check him out. He was actually done for a different project. This girl here was done for a different project, but I've found ways that the stories can interlock, and this is actually really cool, and I recommend you guys do this with your own ideas. That's why I'm a big believer, and even if you don't do a lot of projects, it's a problem I have, but get the ideas down. You never know when you might come back and start picking from other places and throw them in. So her story is she's trying to find and get revenge on the Butcher King. And these are plots that I'm working on right now as to why. So these are the quick designs. I like the dark armor. She's going to have like a style, a reason for this as well. Will she be in the actual Castle Dracula story? That I don't know. That I'm not sure yet. I'm not even really worrying about that. So what I'm trying to do is just, let's start refining this. As you can see, there's nothing here. There's nothing going on. And during the pre-show here, I was just sketching some stuff, and this isn't final styles or anything, right? This is just, let's figure this out. So now that I've introduced into this universe the Butcher King, and that's her story, I want anybody that doesn't know much about him, you guys are going to find out more about him. But essentially what he does, the Butcher King, is he cuts himself for every kill that he's done, every kill. And eventually he just runs out of flesh. There's no more room anymore, The cuts are bleeding into each other. You can't tell it anymore. And obviously he starts losing who he is. So what he ends up doing is he needs to start getting more flesh to cut. So he starts taking the dead that he's killed and he starts rebuilding them, putting a head here, a body part here, and just really warped stuff, okay? Now, how this is going to work is something I'm going to figure out during the scripting and stuff, but I'm going to be jumping in to do the mini-comic stuff for it, is she somehow gets away, Obviously she gets away, or this is while the Butcher King was not quite the king yet. He was just the butcher, So that's why I was just starting to play with certain things, like putting a scar down her face. And I mean, that's a nasty, gnarled scar here. And I'm going to have to do private reference on my own. I can't do it here because it'll be a little bit too mature. Of people that, like a cleft palate, but like an extreme one, just because it kind of like folds the skin. And I'm having a hard time visualizing it. You might have to see teeth. Maybe the teeth got knocked out. Like something here would be the cleaver that came down and just a nasty scar that she's got here. And I wanted to put the little cuts on her face here. And if we go over here, I have one just trying to play with some expression. I'm trying to figure out the helmet. How does the helmet work? It's different angles. It's a complicated object, that's for sure. And I don't think I'll be worrying about that with you guys. We're going to be mostly just jumping into costume and possibly a face without the helmet, that sort of thing today. But you can see, I like this idea here of having like the gash, right? All here. As you can see, I'm bringing it in and having like the flesh of her chin and everything going around it like that. Like it's a bad news bears kind of thing. Okay? And then I want to have these little things here, like just scratches they look like, but they're cuts, you know? She's not doing good. She's not doing good. And she's lost who she is. The only thing she's focused on now is just pure revenge, and it's not, killing him isn't enough, you know? She needs to do more. And as I do this sort of thing, I'm looking back at, let me just start drawing here while we talk. And like I say, I'm just going to be scribbling stuff because this is just a character design sheet that I will print and add to this. And we're just trying to figure this out. Just trying to go, what is the character? What is she about? Let's just explore a little bit with that. And I will say as well, I'll open it up like always, guys. If you have any comments or questions, please, please, please leave them in the chat. I recommend you put it in all capitals. That way when I just glance over, I can see it really quickly. And what we're going to do today, too, is if you guys want, we're going to do a critique session. We haven't done one of those in a long while. So you guys can get any sketches that you'd like critiqued. Get those ready, and we'll run through that probably with the last 10 minutes of the show, okay? And one of the fun things here, too, with this sort of stuff is this is the sort of thing that makes, in my opinion anyway, your worlds richer, and just you start asking, like, this is a character for a different story, right? This isn't our main barbarian kind of looking dude with the whip. Still nameless. Haven't come up with a name for him yet. As he's the main character for our main story there. But then you get characters like this that are kind of just going around doing their thing. And it just makes, like, asks other questions of, like, characters that are intertwining between plots. You know, like, she's got this version here, the Butcher King again, dealing with her, dealing with the main story. So you just start trying to think of things, like, what would tie these people together, and what would make all of this just seem cooler, all in all, you know? Like, what is it that you can add that would just make readers, people reading it, just kind of go like, wow. And as I was plotting, or as I am, I should say, plotting, what's it called? The normal Castle Dracula. I'm starting to notice that, like, I don't know how gory I want to go anywhere, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, like, maybe I don't know. I know we're talking about Dracula and demons and monsters, and look at her face, she's got this disgusting gash down, right? Like, a guy that cuts people up, like, all sorts of stuff. It's like, how far do I want to push it? Do you want intestines? Do you want, you know, like, how much gore? And I'm kind of back and forth. I don't want it to be so over the top that it's just ultra violent. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I do, you know? And as I'm just doing this, I'm just letting, you know, the creativity go and just try to figure out what the story needs. If the story needs the gore, it's got to go in, you know. See you, Justin. Thanks for stopping by, bud. Perfect Noof is asking, does anyone else find their wrists get sore when using the rough pencil brush in Manga Studio 5? I think it's because it requires more pressure than the mapping pen, but I find it kills my wrist. So there's a couple things you can do there, pal. Open up, I'm assuming you're using a Wacom tablet of some sort. If you're not, I'm not quite sure. I know all tablets have this. Just adjust your pressure that's on there. There's a slider, and what might happen is, like, you won't press as hard and your line will be pretty thick, and then when you just slightly press it, it gets real thick. You just got to find that sweet spot. Manga Studio 5 actually has this really cool feature up here. I recommend you guys all play around with it, see what happens. If you go up to File, you can go down to, where are you at here? I just saw it. Pressure. Oh, there you go. Pen pressure settings. You click that, and it's got this whole thing here. Mine, I haven't even touched mine just yet. But you can actually go in here and you draw, and it'll build your pressure up. So you might be able to play around here. So, like, if you're just carving the hell out of this thing, you can kind of slide it around. You're using the Surface Pro 3. Yeah, I don't think there's anything you can do about that. You might have to go in and just make a custom brush. Because I'll tell you right now, as good as people as your art is, and I'll be definitely speaking from experience on this, but as awesome as your art can be, if you have to destroy your wrist in doing it, your art career is going to be so short-lived. It's almost a sin in a way. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Find a way. Learn. Spend an extra hour a day. Whatever you gotta do to get the tools so you don't have to press hard and you're not bending your wrists in weird angles and stuff. Because like if can you imagine? Wouldn't that be the worst? You just finally start getting drawing going and then all of a sudden, boom, your wrist is gone. And now you can't draw anymore. Like that would be, just horrible. So we get a little profile shot here. So one of the themes, like I said, is she's getting revenge on the Butcher King. And as you look at her design that I'm going with here, or at least I'm trying to go with, there's a lot of points. It's a very evil-looking costume. This doesn't look like a friendly character. And I want that motif. I want her to just continually... Like, she's embraced what he's done to her so bad that, she, in a way, has to become him to give it back. So there's a lot of cool story we can do there. And I don't know... Like, she's not going to have a sidekick or anything. So I'm thinking... what the hell? 1 second. Did I merge some layers here? But I'm thinking, like I want to say the Frank Miller style of writing. Ah, crap, I did. Okay, let's just merge it down. Where it's like that inner monologue. It's always like a gross, grungy kind of style of writing. I really like it. It's really good. Noah saying traditional art trumps all. I'll just interject here too. I had a very messed up wrist from drawing traditional as well. I'm definitely a guy that carves when I draw. I press harder than I should. It's something you just got to work at. Some people, they draw lighter than other people. I wouldn't say, if anything, I would say traditional or digital is better for your wrist, only because you can affect the range at which pressure affects your work. In saying all that, you got to work with what works for you. Just be careful, guys. Can't imagine a worse fate than getting a snapped up wrist and you can't do nothing anymore. I also find that adding a pencil grip to your pen can help on the source so it holding. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. For those of you that don't know, you guys can grab like I had a ghetto one. I don't know if you guys remember it. I took a picture of it. I had like an old scrap piece of shirt. So here's my stylus. And I got this just by looking at Freddie Williams. He posted what he draws with, and it's rubber. I think you can actually look at like a tattoo, the tattoo gun. There's like a rubber piece you can buy, and it actually works. An art friend showed me that. What I did, just to try it, is I got this old scrap piece of shirt, and I just wrapped it, so that it kind of looked like this. And then I taped it with masking tape, and I taped it with this, I don't know, this other tape so that sweat wouldn't come off. Now what happens is you can't use those two buttons there. But now you can't, like this, it might not look like a lot, but you got your thumb here and your finger here. You can't get as precise up that most people do with a writing tool. And what that does is that it alleviates the stress on your muscles. I had that going for a little while. I would recommend it. It's really cool. Oh, awesome. Perfect. Okay, so cool. He messed around with the pressure and it worked. Awesome. So now you can kiss your wrist before you go to bed, saying, I'm not going to beat you. Noah's, yeah, he used a sock wrapped in duct tape. Yeah, works. Sketching time. How's it going? How long does it take you to come up with a story sequence? A story sequence. I guess it depends. Would you mind just being a little bit more descriptive? Like, what do you mean by story sequence? So what's happening here is I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this character here. So I'm just drawing some shapes here. Got the plates here. I added like these extra blades for her hips. And I guess we're just going right into like the leg armor, but I added a dress. I'm not sure about the dress. The dress might just be a little too... Oh, it's a female. Of course it's got a dress. Maybe there might be something we can add. I got the long hair. Maybe way too long of hair. That's fine. And we've got our main character for the main book. He's got a whip. Our other character's got throwing knives. In this one, I like the idea of that. You know what? Now that I'm seeing like the design, like a giant longsword seems like it makes sense. Like it's, you know, nobody's really got a sword. That's a Sephiroth or Cloud. By the way, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Who's with me on that? Oh, Jesus. I don't know if you guys are following E3 and video games. I know video games and drawing is not a, it's a pretty much a no-no. But let's just be real for a second. Anyway, so there's a long sword, so it pierces and things. But I'm trying to think now, you know, like, let's get into her. Let's get into her mindset. She wants to kill the guy who... We're not going to know how bad or what it is exactly this sick Butcher King did to her. But it was just bad news bears. She's disfigured to some degree here, you know. What would be a way that she could just mess this guy up? Maybe it's an axe, you know. An axe is a lot of I don't know, a lot of dwarven things people think of with an axe. Maybe that's not as elegant or flashy, you know, but it's pretty gross. Like, you hack somebody in the side, like just boom with an axe. A mace would be pretty gross, just beating somebody to a nasty pulp. That might be pretty cool. I do fear if I give her a mace, it will be... she'll start to look like a paladin in a way, like a dark paladin kind of thing like that. Chop her arm off and replace it with a sword. I was thinking of chopping arms off and things, but Mad Max is still fresh in my mind, and I don't want to cut the arm off. I was thinking of getting rid of some fingers, and probably toes. Maybe she got away before he could really start doing some serious damage, you know. Maybe like a flail. A flail might be pretty cool. Like, if you guys remember in Lord of the Rings, you got, what's his name, Sauron? And he's had that gigantic, disgusting, just boom, this big mace. Maybe she's got, you know, we could just make up a weapon, right? Maybe we could just do like, it's like a... I don't know. I'm going to, just give me a second here. I just want to answer some of you guys' questions here while we're... She needs a 2-foot dagger. Oh, sketching time. Sorry. He was asking about how do we do a story sequence. And just to clarify, he or she was saying, do you draw concept art before the story or after you do a comic? For me, it's a little mix in between. And I don't know if you're here during the beginning of the show. I'll just do like a quick recap. There was a DVD that I watched from Noman Workshop. Ian McCaig, I believe his name is. And it was The Art of Story, and what he did is instead of writing your beats or your plots that are in your story, you just draw them. Grab a 11 by 17 piece of paper, or just like 8.5 by 11 regular printer paper, and you just draw some stuff. It doesn't not finished drawings, just stuff to get your mind going, and just do that. And it's sort of like writing. You're writing as you draw. But to get a little bit more specific with you, for me, it usually starts with a sketch because I don't really like writing things. Doesn't give me the visual. So I'll be walking to school, having a shower, whatever through the day, and an idea might pop up, and I recommend you draw it down. Whether it's in a sketchbook or I like a piece of paper. I don't really like sketchbooks too much, and I just draw it in there, and then eventually it comes time to start to bring some life to that idea, right? And once that happens, then you can start, you know, figuring out what exactly it is that you want to tell, and then it sort of goes from there, right? Like, how big do you want this to go? What's the scope? Is it just a mini comic? Do you think it's like a one-shot idea? Maybe it's a, sorry, I'm just starting to get an idea here. Maybe a scythe. She's bringing death itself, maybe? I don't know. Just how do you want to build that up? Let me actually pull up a picture here for those of you, obviously not everybody's going to be on Facebook or anything like that. Actually, let's go to Twitter. Let's go to juicytwitter.com. I don't know if you guys follow me on there or not. At Art by Jar, if you guys want to hang out. If you guys want to hang out, it's Twitter. What am I talking about? All right, so let me go here. Let me go to my photos and videos. And I'll just bring this over here so you guys can see it as we go here. Okay, so we got here. Okay, so this would have been like a plot here for the Butcher King. Let me just do that, right? And I'll show you guys where it's at and all that sort of stuff. So this is the process of it. You just draw a plot point. This is going to get radically different by the time I get to it. You know, I'm starting in this. The next stage I'm actually jumping to because I'm running into a point now where these aren't enough anymore. I need to see something written that I can quickly go, does this work here? Does this work here? For plots and structure, like the story structure, right? I need a beginning and a middle and an end. I have an idea. That's where the sketches go, but they're not. It's not like a quick fix sort of thing. The next thing you do when you have these is you just write a little something of what are you thinking about this scene? What is it that you want to remember sort of thing. And in this one I just wrote down, you know, maybe this is lore or something for the Butcher King. I just like the idea. These are hooks with all the meat of man, you know, around, you know, that sort of gross thing. And I just wrote sort of as though I was writing a book for how I would describe the characters as they walked in there, and it was, and the chains sung like wind chimes, dancing with the flesh of men upon them. And I thought just by writing something like that, it would give me the feels, you know, when you go in there. It's a lonely sound. There's a beauty to what he's doing. It's twisted and messed up, but it's enough for when I get to the script part of this, right? Like this might be 10 pages of them just slowly walking through his playground, you know, before they see him. That sort of thing. It's, you know, just stuff that I can have to play around there. Let me just go down. I think I had, maybe I didn't. Yeah, okay, so this is where it currently is. Well, right now, this whole desk is loaded. But as you can see here, right, like I've got the Butcher King sketches that I printed up over here, main character, some other pages you can't really see. And right here was another beat that I had, and I'll show you the page after here. And as you can see, what I'm starting to do is just print as these characters slowly start developing and just hanging them up very cheesily, I will say, with printer, generic printer, black and white printer, nothing fancy, masking tape, stick it to a wall. I want to, when I sit down here, it gets me away from the computer. I've talked about this of why I'm doing this, but it gets me away from the computer, and there's no distractions, and it's raw, and it's in there, and I'm surrounding myself with the project. And that's, this to me, to be honest with you guys, I've talked about it before, this is what I crave when I do this stuff, and I know that's why I do concept art. It's not this quite level at work that I do. It's radically different. But the birth of a project is awesome. It's amazing. And this is sort of like where I'm planting my seeds, and then I'm going to have to work the field and, you know, get the script going and the hard work of making it. And then once it's done, once it's spring, you know, or what is it, fall, when you start to harvest all this stuff, and you harvest it and you put it out there and you let it die and you let it grow and you let it do its thing before you start on to the next guy, put the next seeds in for the next project, okay? So this would have been here. So you guys can see here's two plot points that I have, and these might not stick around, right? But this top one here, so hero arrives in time to save a village from undead attack, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going with undead anymore. It was just I needed a bad guy. Let's put it in there, and just an idea, right? Like here's the hero, and he's got the whip hitting this guy. None of these things will stick. These are just, let's do this. Let's have some fun with what's going on here. This character here, you know, he finally rescues his father, but his father's dead. What does that mean? Who knows? You know, what these do is they start feeding into the next thing, and this is the stuff that's I would normally write down on a card, but look at that. It's not beautiful, but you can look at it and you know what it is. And in that DVD, what he talks about, and I actually agree 100%, is we all speak, well, many of us speak different languages, but art is a universal language. It's almost like math, except the difference is you don't necessarily need to study math to understand. Like, where am I going with this? With math, you need to study numbers so you can understand complex equations and things, right? To understand 1 + 1, someone needs to teach you that. With drawing, it's a picture. You can look at it, bang, you get it. I could go anywhere in the world with a sketchbook, draw what it is that I need help with, and somebody will understand. That's powerful. That's very powerful. It does take longer to write, but anyway, I hope that helped. I know I went way off topic here. Lars, who are your influences when drawing women? I'm a huge Joe Madureira fan, so a lot of my stuff goes right to him. I actually printed out an influence map, and I have it next to me. So just the people that I look up to, that I'm trying to study and stuff this year. Joe Madureira, Ryan Otley, Arthur Adams, LaShawn Thomas, Joe Vrenz, I don't even know if you guys know who he is, and Bengus. I'm not sure if you guys know who he is. But Bengus is a Japanese artist. Or is he Korean? I think he's Japanese. Works for Capcom, Street Fighter, that sort of stuff. And he's one of the main artists that I've always looked up to since I've ever looked at that stuff. Beautiful stuff. Let's just see what we got here. Furiosa. Oh, thank you, Sketching Time. I appreciate that. Thank you. Love is the only real universal language. Oh, so we got some got some romantic people in here. Okay, so let's get back to it here. So, so if we got like this scythe thing, I'm not sure. Like it's very clunky, but might have a beauty to it. The silhouette would look real slick, but the scythes are so like intertwined with what's it called? Death. You know, like the bringer of death, and maybe that's something that's good. I don't know. Put some spikes there. Oh, hey, on. It's been a while, bud. Yeah, it's been done for, whoosh, I'd say 3 weeks now. Modified meat hook. Maybe what I'm going to do is just forget the weapon for now. Let's. I'm going to leave this here. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to draw her with the helmet off. We can start worrying about all this later. Figuring out the weapon and stuff. It's all supposed to be for story, right? When you look at it, what is it that makes you go, okay, you know, something's off, something ain't right about this, that sort of thing. So let's just do a simple headshot. Actually gonna do this direction. Again, remember I have her lip pretty messed up, but I want that cut to go maybe even higher. A little bit of attitude in there. Just gesturing where some of this information is going to go. No, this is probably going to be, if I did my math right, about 32 pages. I know it sounds crazy. I just want you guys to see, once you look at where we're going with this, the amount of detail I'm doing in this stuff. Like, there's no cities, you know, and if there is, it's you'll see. The style is much simpler. It's not like what I normally do with my superhero work. That's not the point. It's all story. So the art has to serve the story. Quick stories, but at the same time, when it needs to be, I want to get a little more detailed and stuff like that. Alright, let's zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. So, let's get the eyes going. Kind of want to give her like a little bit of, say bags, but just she's tired. She's worn out. The only thing she lives for right now is revenge, kind of thing, right? All right, so I don't want to draw the eyebrows just yet because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get like a kind of curve thing kind of going on. I don't want to make her too. With this kind of button nose here, it's like people can tend to look cute without them really doing anything. So I gotta put all the lips in there so we can cut it up. So I think it'll be a cool thing at the end of the story. Whatever happens to her, maybe she dies at the end. Maybe she never meets the Butcher King, right? Who knows? I don't want that mask maybe to come off. We'll see. People like masks, and sometimes they don't like to know what's underneath. I remember, I'll be honest with you, I'm a big Friday the 13th fan. Huge Friday the 13th fan. And I remember watching Friday the 13th. I believe it was the second one. I said I'm a huge fan. I don't even remember. I like the character. Anyway, so I was watching him, and I remember his mask coming off, and it was just, I was like, really? Jason's scarier without the mask coming off, you know? I think, anyway. Just because he's all disfigured and stuff underneath, it doesn't make him, I don't know. He didn't feel more interesting to me or anything like that. It just made him like, okay, so now his mystery's gone, you know? That what is it kind of thing. Alright. We can worry about making the face perfect later. Maybe we can do something different with the nose. Maybe... Actually, that's what we'll do. We'll just erase all this. Maybe make her like a black character. Just to show some, you know, like there's different races in this world too. It's a little bit bigger of a nose. Just, you know, a little bigger lips. I don't know how to go like overboard with this. Let's round out some of the features a little bit more. Alright, so let's kind of figure out. Her jaw is actually pretty big. Ugh, what the hell's going on here? Actually, see, this is what this is what happens. I don't know if you guys getting this. If you start doing like too many comic books and you're trying to get like the perfect or very beautiful women, you kind of get stuck with that's like the default way. So any line that's not like that, you tend to get a little like, you know what I mean? It's kind of ugh. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm not saying I want to ugly this person up. I just want to make it a little bit more real in a way. So it's not. You know, like when I start adding a little bit of fat to the cheeks here, it starts to give it a little bit more of a cute feel, right? I want her to be dangerous, like she's... So let's go ahead and just suck in that jawbone. Yeah, that's fine. And, I don't know if there's going to be any shadows from anything, but I want... a little bit of bags under here. I know I just said I didn't want to put bags, but that's how we find characters out. If you ask me, it's normally this sort of stuff would be done in Photoshop. I like to do it in Photoshop. I can go ahead and do adjustment layers and things quicker. I don't really like finding characters with pencil like this because pencil is so precise. It's very hard to just get like casual drawings out there. Let's see what we got here. Sketching time. What's the most interesting project? Whoops. What's the most interesting project you've worked on in the past few years? Most interesting? Man. I wish I had a better answer than I'm not sure. They all have their own little perks and things. The standard was, I think, 2 or 3 years long. I learned a lot about myself through that, like what it is I can do, as well as like what should I be doing. The standard really started making me focus heavily on professionalism, even though I missed deadlines and things. It's not something I'm proud of, but it did show me, it had more weight to it. The last project I did, Worlds in Peril, what that showed me was it was a little bit more creative freedom on that project, and that was fine. To be honest, this stuff here that I'm doing now that I've sitting down again and just doing personal work, that's the most exciting to me because there's no red tape. There's nobody telling me what I can and can't do. It's all on me, and that excuse me, it's a little bit intimidating, but at the same time, I'm just pouring myself out here, and once it's done, share it with everybody. But I'm gonna jump into the next one after, so I don't really have time to sit back and go like, oh, what could I have done to make it better? It's just do work, do work, do work, do work, and you'll get better that way. So I'm not quite sure which one was more exciting. Just to give you an answer, I would say Castle Dracula, just because that's what I'm working on right now, and it feels like there's always something new happening there. I hope the caterpillars haven't laid seeds in your nostrils. I'm not sure what that is. No, nope. No, she's the main character of this. It's called the Black Tower. It's a separate story for Castle Dracula. Main reason is I have conventions coming up within a month or two, and I want to have a mini comic, just to enrich the world and have something there that people might be interested in. Yeah, this mini comic will be 32 pages. What it is it's if you grab an 11 by 17 piece of paper and you fold it in half, it's basically, or no, sorry, an 8.5 by 11. So regular printer paper, just fold it in half. That's the size of it. So the pages are actually much smaller. It's not. I'm not. It's nothing like what people would normally do for comic book work. We'll just say that. All right, so I'm going to use red here. It's kind of like an ash can. Yep. I would mostly say it's like an ash can. Yeah. So let's just sort of figure out like, okay, so like a big old chunk. This is the cut I'm trying to think of for the meat cleaver. Actually, right now the only cities I'm going to are Windsor, where I'm at right now. I plan on expanding, but mostly I want to say next year. I don't know where any of this is going, guys, so I'm just playing it year by year. Ideally, I would like to go to Toronto next year, and maybe in the state. The only one in the states, actually, there's two. Motor City Comic Con. I guess I haven't been in a while. It must have changed big time since I've even heard of it, but it seems like that's pretty legit. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try and check out Motor City Comic Con and possibly Chicago. That's pretty close to me as well. All right, so we're gonna have a bunch of scratches on her face, but just one big good gash should be good. Just kind of curve it. We can kind of get it in there. Let's go ahead and get that gray. I'm just going to erase some of this stuff here. Let's merge that down. cut those lips up. There's a nasty gash. Okay, so we've got about, I don't know, 13 minutes left or so, guys. So if anybody had any images that they'd like critiqued, by all means, please post in the chat in capitals with a link to the image, as well as what you're looking for from the critique. If you don't include that, then I won't be able to critique it for you. There's no point in just looking at art, because then it's just sort of like it's a subjective thing, and you're not going to learn anything from that. Why can't I draw here? Okay, computer's lagging. That's great. Ottawa. Yeah, I could go there too. I think Ottawa is 8 hours away. I forgot all about Ottawa. I don't know why. I just don't even think about it. But yeah, maybe I could check that out too. See what the prices are on that bad boy. I don't know how the hell lips would work that are cut like this. Alright, let's really start testing the brain here. Alright, so this is all flesh, so the flesh has got to go somewhere. Like this, maybe? This is pretty gross. Yeah, you'd have, okay, so just get like all the meat and stuff that's in there. So yeah, I guess no matter what, you'd have to kind of see the teeth. I don't want it to look like undead. That's something I really don't want, but this would all be meat. And maybe we just have to bang it up. I would like people to kind of go like, what the what the fuck happened to her? We can play up the sadness, because this is pretty brutal. Okay, so we're going to say this here. We're going to jump into some critiques. Yes, this would be the main character for the Black Tower. Yep. Perfect is saying I've got a page here, Jonathan. I'm just looking to see if it flows good and anything else that jumps out at you. Alright, so let's open this up here. And we can take a look at the flow. Copy image. Alright, so let's paste it. Turn all this down. Alright. So looks like there's a barkeeper. He's dozing off. Or no, sorry, he's looking down. Then he looks up. And he finds somebody that looks oddly out of place. Alright, so how's the flow? The flow's, this is what I call safe. And the reason for that is a lot of the things are just like flat on, and there's nothing wrong with having flat on shots. It's all preference. I'm not quite sure what's supposed to happen in this. What's like the story that's happening here? Okay. The guy with the hat had just been talking to the barkeep. Okay. The barkeep reluctantly directs him to the corner for a job. Oh, so he's walking over to it? Is that what's kind of going on? Okay, so this is what I would do. We're just going to go ahead and go through it. I know this isn't necessarily, well, this is jumping out at me. That's why I'm going to do this. So these two guys are talking. So quick thumbnail here. So we got two dudes talking, 4 panels. I'm not sure what the close-up of the eye is about, though. The eye is the guy with the hat's eye after he sees what's in the corner. Okay, so the problem that I have when I'm looking at this is this looks like the barkeep's. Even though I know you have black eyebrows and the barkeep has white, you can see you tried to distinguish them that way. But there's, I think this is what I would call, there's just a couple things happening here there's something that's missing with timing, meaning like by the time these two talk to each other and he leaves to go to the corner and then you see his eye, it's too fast. Personally, and I would add a couple panels. So you could still do the 2 that you have at the top, right? And he's reluctantly telling him, so you can still do what you had here with the barkeep looking down, you know. You got a lot of black going in the background there, so I would try to, I don't know, you could guide the eye. You kind of got this barrel. I'd actually bring this barrel up just to go like this, go behind the guy, so that it could frame him, so his head pops. So that when you go like this and you add all your black in the background, what'll happen is it's just more visually pleasing, because now that, you know what I mean, like that's a white shape where his face is here and you can still have your barrel in the background, you know, but it's sort of like a window that you'd have in the background, and it just usually it'll flow better. And the next one you could have him again, but what I would do is if he's directing the guy, he's directing us as well, right? So you could still kind of have him looking off. You can have him looking at us still, whatever. But, you know, you have to act. Pretend you're this guy. Maybe he's doing the, you know, whatever. So he's just pointing in the other direction. Like, maybe he's pointing that way, or you could just kind of do the actual finger. He's pointing that way. And again, what this does with that barrel back there is it lets you tell more story, right? Because now you can see the hand kind of popping out like that. All right. Now, what I would do here, this is the part that's a little tricky. Yeah, no, I will jump on that as well. I'm just going to try to be real quick with this one. I don't want to go too long. Okay, so we got this here. The next part is the guy going over into the corner, and you kind of have this eye shot. What I would do personally is you could still have the giant eye, and I like doing this sort of stuff. Right, I'm just going to toss it in here. You got your giant eye. I would be careful with your speed lines. It kind of looks like a mix of rendering. I would just, everybody's speed lines have their own style to it. I would just try to lighten it up a little bit and keep all the detail work where you want people to look. When you start, this is something I think everybody should listen to as well, is when you're drawing things, a perfect example is like the second panel here. What's really good about it is when you have a simple black background like this, everything else is detailed, perfect. I know exactly where to look. When you look at this eye in this last panel, the white, it goes like rendering, white, eyebrow, lots of lines which make this character look old. Okay, which is sort of why I thought it was this dude up here. Then you see his eye, and then it goes back down. It's a very busy panel. So if all you did was, I'll just show you here. Okay, let's make this a little bigger. Kept all the detail in the eye, and this is an illustration technique, right? You guide the eye. You have all the power when you're designing. Okay, when you're drawing. Show us what you want us to see. What is it that you want us to focus on? So with that eye, you know, you can just have your speed lines clean. It'll still do the same effect. It's pointing at what am I looking at? That's the point of the speed lines. And it just makes it bang. It pops much easier, okay? So keep doing that. Now what I would do is I'd add an extra panel here, okay? This panel, I would, you know, you could get kind of fancy. You can go like this. maybe come down a little bit like that. This is just a first pass. So you've got your guy looking to the left. What I would do is I would have this guy with the hat. And I would still put the bartender here. This is very important because by putting the bartender in the same shot here, what you've done is you tie these characters together. That might not have been so clear before. Okay, and then you could have all your characters here. But where he's going is very important. He's going to a corner in the room, right? So put the corner of the room in here. Let the viewers see what's going on, right? Maybe there's a little head here. I don't know if he's facing us or not. Whatever, but have him going towards it. Kind of think of when you're making comics, this is at least a belief I have lately too, is when you're making comics, each page should almost have training wheels on. Have training wheels for readers. Like, go over the top to show them what it is they need to be seeing. Don't get too creative. Like, get creative with things, but a lot of times if you're safe, it's fine. Safe, as long as you're doing safe storytelling, you're fine. What gets you into trouble is if you start overcomplicating things. Like, well, he's in a bar with a bunch of people, they're partying and stuff, and it's a busy place. That's cool, but you can still have all of that and just push these people in the background and don't give them a lot of attention and drawing with them. Make what you want me to see clear. It just helps with the storytelling. So the extra panel that I would add is this would be, now you can see the face of this guy. And I don't know if this is the face of the dude. The problem that we're going to have here that I'll tell you right now is I still don't know whose eye this is. I don't know the eye that that this could be. So I might even pull out a little bit of that. I'm not sure. But that's why I would add a panel, just to show the transition between this guy's walking. Now he's hit the destination and he turns around. Okay? Okay, so let me just go up there and do one more. And we're going to wrap it up. But I'll say thank you guys for everybody submitting stuff. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully I can help you guys out a little bit with this stuff. Whose was I supposed to do here? Noah, that's who it is. Okay, so let's just go here. Okay, so we can copy. Noah's asking, John, when you finish this one, can you do this one? Some tips on anatomy. Okay. So let's paste it in there. Let's turn all this off here. It might get a little distorted here, guys. I'm just increasing the size so you can see it. I'm actually just going to make a copy. And we're going to turn it blue. Whoops, blue. So we can draw on top. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got. So, okay, the one thing that jumps out right away is it's lacking dynamic anatomy. If you pushed it a little bit more, you could turn like a pose like this, give it a little bit more punch, okay? And I'll show you why or how. One thing that jumps out right away is, I'm not sure if you did this or not, but there are proportion issues. His head is too big. His leg is coming up, but that thigh is still the same size as the one that's in the distance. His bicep is massive. His bicep's the size of his forearm. And so there's some issues here. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep working. You're only gonna get better. There's some good things in here. You know, like it's still it's a safe. I know you guys probably don't like hearing it, but it's a safe. What's it called? It's a safe drawing. But the impact, it's so close to just having that extra punch. It's so close. So keep doing what you're doing because you will get there. Whether you like what I'm about to say or how I would approach the drawing, that doesn't matter. I can see that there's something here to keep going with, okay? Just continually push yourself. And know that every wall you hit is great because if you can get over that wall, or I should say better, when you get over that wall, you're going to look back and go, it was worth it. It's always worth it, okay? So Right away, it's Thor. He's the thunder god, right? And he's right now it looks like he's just kind of hanging out. So that's fine. Your heroes don't always have to be like larger than life. It's a hero. It should be, but you know there are times in comic panels where maybe they're just talking. All right. So what I would do is there's one quick thing that you could do that would just make this immediately better is shrink. Well, two things: shrink the head and get like an energy line kind of going in here, a flow. You might hear people say, right? Like this is the energy I'm seeing. It's just the eye is pushing me this way. So what I'll do here is the first step is I'm just going to shrink up the head, and hopefully right away you can see how much better it looks. And what I'm doing is I'm using the chest as a guide, his pecs, as a guide, I should say. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to get too fancy with this stuff here. Just by shrinking his head, now everything else looks a little bit bigger. He looks more muscular this way, right? What I would do with this leg is I'm actually going to shoot this leg out, but I'm going to use cylinders, and guys, keep using your cylinders. Right? And I'm just going to put the leg this way, and it's pointing. And what this does, just right away, for me personally, all of a sudden there's like there's a flow that was missing a little bit in what you were doing there, okay? And this does look like a little feminine kind of leg. You can always just stack muscles on there. That's not the point that I'm trying to go with here, is that sort of thing here, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue drawing with just the this sort of cones and stuff shape, because you'll still see how the perspective is working. I'll do little guys like this. And this leg I would actually, you know, you can keep really pushing the anatomy with that. Now I know, you know, guys have penises. I know guys got junk in between their legs. Nothing wrong with that at all. This is just a style thing. In reality, when you look at maybe guys wearing like underwear and stuff, yeah, they do have this little pouch and stuff. Personally, I like just doing it straight like that. Just have not like a box shape, but it's just it's not a round shape. It's a square aggressive shape that's around there. Okay, and what you can do with this is it just makes things feel a little bit more. What's the word I want to use here? A little bit more like there's a little more power in there. It's a sturdy shape. Do what you want. I'm just go ahead and do what I have there. Let's grab this here. So this leg here is coming up. That's fine. Always have these massive legs coming up. That's always cool. And you could really push that in the background if you wanted to. Let's really push that anatomy. Alright, you got a big old kneecap. Let me actually just go ahead and throw some muscle on here, so you can kind of see what I'm saying here. Whoops. And you know me, I always like the big bulbous kind of anatomy. Alright, so I'm going to draw just a center line here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to curve the chest, okay? And what you do is imagine right now, if you just do it if you're by yourself, I don't care. Just imagine, sit up as straight as you can. Don't hurt yourself. Just sit up like you're supposed to sit. Like how all ergonomics classes teach you to sit, right? Pretend you've got an S on your chest. You're Superman or a Superwoman, Super Lady, Supergirl. What the hell's her name? Whatever. You're Super You, okay? You got that? You're a superhero, for Christ's sake. Now, all you gotta do is imagine you're squeezing a grape. Oh, that feels good. Feels real good. Like you're squeezing a grape behind your shoulder blades. Like I'm gonna squeeze the hell out of that. That shape, if you go, I don't care how fat you are, how anorexic you are, go look in front of a mirror, take your shirt off. If you don't like your body, gross yourself out for a second. Just do that, and then lean forward and kind of bring your shoulders together like you're hunched over, like you don't care. And look at the mirror. Look at the posture that gives you, right? And again, you probably aren't ripped. You're not Arnold Schwarzenegger. But then look in the mirror and just get that ass on your chest and bring that chest out like you're deflecting bullets off it. Look how amazing the posture gets just by doing that. Okay? It's huge. It's huge. Give that to your male heroes whenever you can, even female heroes as well. There's a reason why they're besides always having their breast out like people usually do in comics. When you have the chest out like that, it's just authority. Like you're coming in with power here. Okay. And it looks like you try to do that with the chest, but you kind of got away from you. So your abs are going here. All right, and all we're going to do here is I want this rib cage to really pop out, so I'm going to bring the chest up very high. And it's Thor, so he's got to have, you know, like wide pecs. And this is where it might get a little weird. You can put little circles on the side for where your arms are supposed to go. And I'm just going to use simple cylinders here. I'm just going to show you just by using simple cylinders. You can still make the God of Thunder feel like he's, you know, he's still a tank. And you can still get those big old lats in there too, right? And these lines all lead like this, right? They're all giving you that energy. Use them. Don't like stop using them. Don't stop using them. That doesn't even make sense. All right, so this hand here is kind of off. What I'm going to do is you can see how I'm building this up. I'm just sort of scribbling it out and figuring what's going on. But the shape is still a cylinder. I'm trying to keep this very simple so you can understand what's going on with this stuff. And once you have these cylinders, then you can go ahead and just start figuring out where's all your anatomy going, you know. Rectangle for the hammer. Don't worry, you can always just go back and adjust the stuff. I'm gonna swear a little bit here. If you fuck this stage up, it doesn't matter how good your drawing gets, like how much rendering you put on top of this. If you fuck this part up, the whole drawing's lost. So spend the monotonous amount of time in perfecting this, because with this you can throw any kind of style on top of it, right? And what we can do here is we can get that big old beefy neck that he's got. Yeah, that squeaking is my my mouse here, sorry. I'm just going to tilt it down here because we want him looking down at us. That's fine. Okay, so all I did is it's the same sort of pose. I just pushed and pulled some things, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to turn off that background layer so you can see. Okay, and that's it. It's the same thing. All I did was a couple adjustments. I shrunk the head. I brought the leg more forward out because it gives it power, correct? Hopefully you guys think that it gives you some power. The arm, if you look at the lines I have in here, they're pretty straight, right? You guys saw me build this up with cylinders and then just add stuff over top of it. But the initial power was there. Here, it's getting kind of lost. It's still there, but the foreshortening is getting a little out of whack. And the anatomy, there's some anatomy issues in here, but it looks like you have a general idea of anatomy. So keep pushing it, you'll get there. And then the last thing we did here is I tried anyway to pull the chest back, make it look like it's pulled a little bit further back. Okay, and again, shrunk. I changed where the hammer was just to sort of make it feel like it's a little bit more powerful. The last thing that I will add on here, and all of this stuff, you can tell me where to go and all that, is the cape. The cape is massive for Thor. Now, if you didn't have the room, capes help give your characters motion, life, and like if you ask me, when I think of Thor, he's kind of like, I don't want to say the Hulk, but he's fast like lightning in a way, right? But look at him, he's a tank. He's ripped. So whenever a character has cape, what I like to do is just sort of, that's where you can kind of give your life. For me, I would, continue with this line, maybe even just having the cape up like up here, like that sort of feel. I kind of like that. That's kind of gives them this majestic sort of look. But if you wanted it to go the way you were going, I don't necessarily like capes like this, and I used to draw them like that. It just makes it too soft, like it's not, there's no power in there, there's no balls in it. So if I'm going to add some balls to this thing, do I got the right pen here? Yeah. You can get like some sharp shapes going. You have the poles and stuff like that. Right? And everybody's got different style of capes. I know Thor's pops up like this, kind of like Spawn in a way. And the last thing, and then I'm done with this. The last one, okay? Yeah, aggressive crotch is the hair. It's just sort of there. The hair. Thank God Thor's got hair here because you can really just start showing people where to look. You know, you can get some really cool styles going on with the hair. You know, you can just play around that. And then the very last thing, and I'm done here, is the lightning. The lightning is a compositional tool. Whenever I think of drawing Thor, it's composition, composition, composition. So if this was just an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper like this, boom, let's get some lightning going this way. You know, it's hitting it. Maybe it's coming back down that way. That's it. You get them looking from the top left, going around his face because I want people to look at his face because that's what people look at. Bang! Look at that. You just got instant composition. Okay. So there was one more. I believe it was something story. Was that your name? I apologize. If you could just let me see if I can scroll up and find yours. Hopefully that helped you out there. I know it's here somewhere. A sketching time. If you're still here, let me just scroll down to see. There you go. Okay, thanks. All right, so let's bring this up here. So I'm just going to use the first image here. It's pretty small. I don't know if I can get a bigger image. Yeah, it's pretty tiny. Let's see what we can do here. And all I'll do with this one is we're just going to talk about anatomy, and then we can wrap the show up here. We're just going to do exactly what we just sort of already did there. So we'll have this, make a new layer. We're just going to duplicate it, make it blue, lower the opacity, and make a new layer that we're going to do some inks over it. So okay, so first impressions there. Again, it's a safe drawing. That's fine. When I keep saying safe, don't get offended, guys. It just means there's no like extreme pushed anatomy or anything like that. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just look at it from a critical standpoint from anatomy. There's some I would say there's some glaring issues here that are a problem here. Okay, and I'll just point them out here. So the shoulders, you've got one shoulder that's like this, and this shoulder's like this, two different sizes. Your bicep is coming in here, which is fine, right? And then your elbow, and then all of a sudden the forearm's going like this. So what this is telling me is that a lot of what you're doing for anatomy, and some of you guys might do this as well, and this is not going for style or anything, is when you learn how to draw, you'll always draw like a shoulder like this, a teardrop shape, and then the arm goes like this, you know, and that's your bicep and your tricep, and then you might put a little triangle here for the elbow, and then this is your forearm into your hand. Stop drawing this way, okay? I just want everybody here to stop doing this. It's horrible, and it's not your fault. Okay? It's not your guys' fault. It's just the way this goes. I did this too. Stop doing this because it's going to only fuck you in the end. Okay? And I'm going to show you why. This is why it'll screw you up. How do I draw this arm like Superman coming at us? Let's say he's flying at us. How in the hell can I go like this? Okay, so is this the shoulder going into the bicep and the forearm here? And then, sorry, is this the forearm? And then, like, look at that. That is disgusting. How? There's nothing there. There's nothing going on, right? What you need to do, what you have to do, and nobody wants to do it because it looks like poop, okay? It looks like total suck, is cylinders, squares, and what's the other one? Cylinders, squares, and circles. That's it. Yes, get more aggressive crotch going. All you need to do to break this down is you can add your style on top of it, okay? So when you're doing an arm, figure out where you're looking. Like if I'm looking at the top here. Okay, so there's an arm. My shoulder all the way up to my elbow has to fit in here somewhere. And here's my forearm. That's it. And right away you can trust me, this looks like crap. I get it. But this fixes so many problems that you'll get yourself into. Now, again, we can go ahead. Like, what if Superman's coming at us? Okay, well, so here's our shoulder area that's going here. That's going into, I don't know, our elbow, which is going into our forearm. You know? And once you erase these back lines, instantly you can see it. You can see the form. And that's all you need to do. And do this as well. Add your perspective guides in like this, okay? And all that does is now your brain goes, oh, I understand what you're showing me. I understand where your depth is going in. The next trick is just figuring out proportion, like how long should these things be. Fill your sketchbooks up with this stuff, guys. It sucks. I know it sucks because you're going to spend, 30 minutes drawing something, and this might take you 20 minutes to do, and you only got 10 minutes left to like make it look cool. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take what you had here and add those proper elements to it. All right, so I like to start with the chest myself. So we're going to add the chest here. Get our center line. And we're going to figure out where our rib cage is. Put little sockets on the side. That might help you out to figure out where your shoulders would go. All right, so our abs are going to go in there. Cool. Now I know this arm, nobody, okay, I want you guys right now, try to do this. And people do this, and I don't mean to pick on you, because everybody does this. That's why I'm just saying it, so everybody can sit down. Right now, if you're standing or sitting, cross your arms. There is no way in hell you can cross your arms like how this guy's drawn. Everybody draws it like this until somebody tells you about it. Okay? Somebody told me about it, and then I did this, and I was like, oh, holy shit. And the only reason you're doing that is because it's this. These cylinders, you don't have a concept or the understanding just yet of space and how things work, okay? So when you cross your arms, if you can't, just go look in a mirror, your arms come out. They lift up because they're not long enough. You know what I mean? They're not long enough. If maybe you got your special and you can kind of bring it down, but what ends up happening is if you can actually do what this guy's doing with your arms straight down to the sides of your ribs, by the way, your elbows need to stay at the side of your ribs, okay? If you can actually do that, your posture up top gets different, okay? Your posture up top squishes together. Whereas when you bring your arms up, you can feel your back straighten, right? You can, like this guy looks like he's laughing at somebody, okay? Look in the mirror, check the stuff out. So, by doing that, just lift these up. Lift your cylinders up. And right away you can see what's kind of going on, right? And I'm just going to do this just so my brain can understand what's going on. Now we got this arm coming this way. This is tricky to do because a lot of this doesn't make sense all of a sudden. Once you start adding cylinders in, it's like, well, where does my hand fit in? Where does all this go? And even though I did the chest like this, I'm going to actually tilt it this way. Let's get the head in here. And if you still kind of want to looking down, that's cool too. Alright, and that's basically, that's it. That's it. Now the hands, where do the hands fit in? I would actually, I'm not going to get into it because hands are another thing. They're a beast, okay? So I'm going to cop out and not do them. So just so I can move on to do like the big chunky anatomy so you guys can see what's going on here. So this is all I would need. Now you can see right away the difference between the two here, right? You can see, hopefully, right away how mine, in this case, is easier on the brain to understand where things should go. You can sort of in your head picture where a shoulder might go. Whereas when you look on the left, and yeah, granted they are two different stages, but the one on the left is there's things wrong with it, and besides like maybe the anatomy you can see right away that might not work, there's things in it that are just sort of like, I don't know what exactly it is that's off, okay? So, let's just go ahead and do this here, okay? So I'm going to start with the hands. Now, a quick trick you can do here with your forearms is where your wrist is, sort of like just imagine like a wristband. And everything from the wristband onwards, like towards the elbow, that's where you can stack all your muscles in, okay? So I'm going to put like just, that's an elbow. And since these are in front of what's going on here, you can go ahead and just draw like, you know, like bang, like that. Just knock it out in front of it there. Okay? And a hand would go here, and a hand would go there. So again, same sort of idea. And what this does now is you can see, okay, so the same thing sort of here, like this marking spot is usually where I would put my shoulders. And your triceps aren't flexed when you're doing this, but this guy, boom, you just pop the shit out of that. Just knock that bicep right out. Right, and if you want, you could kind of do the lines you had there for the triceps. Right, and then from here you can go ahead and knock in your chest. And you see the line that I'm putting in here is the curve of the form that it's on. It's the curve of the perspective of his boobies. Okay. And you can do, this is a safe face here. It's looking at us, looking down, trying to look badass, right? And you can still get your muscles in here for your neck, your Adam's apple. And I know you've got like these giant traps behind them, and I always like that on my character, so you can still put that in there. Might not necessarily look good, but what's that? You think he's hunching forward? Okay, we'll do another quick one here of him, how it should look when he's hunching forward, okay? So this would be one example. What is a good way to draw the shoulders out? Oh, okay, so what I do with the shoulders is, let's just do a simple one here, right? So this is our grid for our arm, and here would be like a elbow, and this would be where our chest is, okay? Let's draw the boobies in there. So what I do is about like, I'd say about halfway, maybe a little bit higher of this cylinder here. I just put a little marking, and that, like all of my shoulder has to fit in that. And the shoulder looks like from the side, it's kind of like a, I don't even know what the hell this shape is. Kind of like that. So like this side would come out, you wrap it up if you want, because it does connect into the pecs, right? Just like that. And what that does is it shows you right away where everything else needs to kind of go, okay? So I just want to do this real quickly. We're going to do one more here. Let's move this down. So you guys can see like just the anatomy on that is a little different than what's going on here. So what we'll do is we're going to hunch this cat forward. Maybe I looked at this wrong, and this guy was supposed to be hunching forward. I didn't see the chat all the time there. So if he's hunching forward, let's again start with the chest. But you need to see the top of the chest still too. And that's the part that's missing. If he's leaning forward, this would be straight, and all of this has to lean forward. There needs to be a tilt in it. And right away you can see where there isn't one, because if you look on the left, do you see these lines right here that he has for the top of the pecs or the collarbone? They're just straight. With a curve, you can, bang, get that right away, okay? And again, halfway you're trying to figure out where the rib cage is. We'll just put the little sockets in here. It's going a little bit further in the back because this does wrap around. And let's go ahead and draw that grid in there for our brain to understand what the fuck's going on. Alright, let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is, so now if he's leaning forward, there's no way in hell, if you're leaning forward, that these arms are like your elbows are going to your rib cage. There's no way. It can't. Like I'm trying right now, and it just, I mean, try to like, imagine you are the character right now, right? Like you could really stress your body and maybe get that, but the problem is like you look stupid, right? If you're this big, massive dude with chains on your arms, scars on your bicep and stuff, you're intimidating, right? There's got to be, you're showing your muscle. That's what you're trying to show. Even if you got like a little bit of a belly or something, I'm in your face. So if that's the case, like even his head, I would bring his head like at you. All right. So it's again, these most likely be the same. They're actually going to be probably a little bit more extreme, more foreshortened. Should really get a mirror that I can have in front of my face here. Go into a hand. Go into a hand. What's cool is now you can actually get those big old traps going on in there, right? So here you go. So we've got this. Let's go ahead and make this blue. We're going to turn off the layer we had underneath of it. Blue. And let's go ahead and draw. So I'm going to start with the face here because it's the one that's closest to us. And I'm going to go ahead and get these. I'm trying to keep it very chunky here so you guys can see it. The collarbone. Wrapping that sucker around like that. Now when you get these traps, like boom, look at this guy. Yeah. Muscle Town. Alright, so these shoulders are still kind of going around us here. So I'm going to start with, again, these wristband sort of things. Now we're going to stack muscles on here. Uh-oh. Find that spot for your shoulder. You just boom, knock out that massive bicep in there. Just gonna go a little quicker on this one. And these shoulders here, they do wrap around the back. Shoulders are actually a little too small. Anyway. These little golf balls on his arm. Just a house. Right? And now, again, look at the curve. I have to keep this curve in here. Because this curve is what sells the lean. Right? If I don't put this curve in here, like, you can't tell that this cat's leaning forward. Right? And don't get me wrong, I mean, yeah, I am putting like massive muscle in here. That is an aesthetic style that I have. But for the most part, I mean, hopefully it shows you just a little bit of the difference here. Let me just bring this up here, and then we can wrap it up here. I'm just going to... Okay? So I hope that helps you out. I would recommend, again, one more time, guys, is definitely just go through and do cylinders. Play with the cylinders and figure out where your anatomy is connecting, and it's going to make so much things easier, okay? Like, don't get me wrong, if I look at this, and yeah, there's things that are still off and things, but if you can nail cylinders down, eventually you get to a point where your anatomy is just easier. It's easier to understand where things attach onto those. And it might not feel the most creative, but eventually you get to a point where you can shorthand those cylinders and get to the more stylistic approach of things, in my opinion. But you can figure out any way you can kind of do that, okay? What's that? Oh, man. Okay, one last thing. We're going to do a background, I guess, and then that'll be it. Let's see here for Lars. No problem. Sketchy time. Thank you. And again, I will say it because I did say it before. Thank you, everybody that's submitting things to get critiqued. You got a lot of balls, or you've got a lot of ovaries, if you're a lady. And you're actually not only helping yourself out, you're helping out a lot of people that might need help. Okay, why can't I copy this picture? This is why I hate Instagram. Can I just drag it in? No. Shit. What are we going to do here? Print screen? Maybe that'll work. Alright, let's try that. Maybe Okay, so we got... Oh wait, this isn't the right picture. What is this? No, that's not the right one. Let me see. Somebody wanted help with a background. Alright, so Lars, is this what you wanted? I mean, there's no background in here. That's right, I just think the black BG is boring. Oh, Okay, if that's the case, if all you can obviously do here is draw in white. Well, I mean, there's some artsy-fartsy stuff you can kind of do. Perhaps we could just do a... I think the easiest thing would be like a cityscape. I don't know how you feel about that. But you could just go ahead and paint in white, you know? Where your buildings would be. Put like a moon or something, I don't know. You grab some white and just turn on some music, because this will get boring as F. Just put like some buildings maybe back there. I don't know. Some lights. But since you already painted this in black and white and stuff, I don't know how you'd fix this. I don't know what kind of whiteout you could get. Or if you've got a lot of whiteout, you could do that. But anyway, that'll be it, you guys. Hopefully I helped you out with what I could. Thanks for everybody that that stayed by tonight for the extra half hour. Really appreciate it, you guys. And like usual, you guys can check this show every Wednesday at 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you just look at the clock where you're at right now, subtract an hour and a half from that, and that's when the show starts. We do a little pre-show before, just to get some music going and get the rust burnt off, and just kind of get in the flow of things. What else we got? Oh, and if you can't make the show, that's cool. They do get uploaded up onto YouTube on Saturday, Sunday at the latest, so you guys can check that out. And once again, thank you everybody that supported me on Patreon. If you guys wanted to go there, you can go to my website, jonathanrector.com. You can get a link there, or you can just look at the bottom of the video here and just go to patreon.com/jonathanrector. And like I did say, at the end of this month, I'm hoping, or the end of next month, there's going to be a whole new layout structure and reward sort of thing with Patreon, commissions, behind the scenes stuff for project development. Right now, it's more of just like there's options available for you guys. There's some things for you, but it's not enough. I want it to be comics, not necessarily just drawing, okay? So you guys can check that out. And if you are a patron right now, thank you so much. Everything you do does make all of this happen. So thank you so much. And until next week, you guys, like usual, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.